Today, we're going to dig into a concept that might just completely change how you see your relationships. We're talking about escaping the drama triangle.
So, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel just completely wiped out by your relationships? Maybe you're the one who's always swooping in to fix everyone else's problems. Or maybe you just find yourself stuck in the same old arguments, on a loop, like a bad song you can't get out of your head.
Well, if any of that sounds even a little bit familiar, you're definitely not alone. And what if I told you that this whole frustrating, exhausting pattern actually has a name? It's a psychological model, and I'm telling you, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
All right, so let's get right into it. We're going to explore why our fights, whether it's with a partner, a friend, your family, why they can feel so predictable. Turns out there's a reason for that. It's not random at all. This right here is the culprit. It's called the Karpman Drama Triangle. It was developed way back in 1968 by a psychiatrist named Stephen B. Karpman. And it's basically a map that shows the destructive, reactive roles we fall into whenever there's conflict. Think of it like a secret script that we all end up following without even realizing it.
Now take a look at how this thing is set up. See how the triangle is upside down? That is totally on purpose. Up at the top corners, you've got the persecutor and the rescuer. They're in what's called a one-up position, basically a position of power. And then way down at the bottom point, all alone, is the victim in the one-down position. Just seeing it visually tells you so much about the power dynamics in these situations.
Okay, so let's get to know the cast of characters in this little play. In any kind of drama, we tend to slip into one of three roles: the persecutor, the rescuer, or the victim. Let's break down what each of these really looks like.
First up, the persecutor. You know this person. This is the finger pointer, the blamer. They're controlling, they're critical, and they always seem to feel superior. But here's the thing. It's often just a way to deal with their own pain by trying to have power over somebody else.
The persecutor's theme song is simple, and it's destructive. It's pretty much just, "It's all your fault." By saying that, they get to push all the responsibility away from themselves.
So, what's really going on under the surface? Well, the persecutor is basically taking all their own anger and their own vulnerability and just projecting it onto other people. It's all about avoiding personal responsibility and, most of all, feeling like they are in control.
Next, we've got the rescuer. The classic enabler. This is the person who rushes in to save the day, usually because they feel guilty about something or they just really need to be seen as the good guy. The huge problem here is that they're so busy helping everyone else that they totally forget about their own needs. The rescuer's catchphrase is, of course, "Let me help you." And while that sounds so nice, right? What it really does is keep the victim stuck and dependent, stopping them from ever figuring out how to solve their own problems. So what's the payoff for being the rescuer? Well, by focusing on everybody else's mess, they get a perfect excuse to ignore their own. Their help keeps the victim needing them, and hey, even if their help doesn't work, they still get to feel like your hero just for trying. It's a pretty clever way to dodge your own life.
And finally, at the very bottom of the triangle, we have the victim. Now, this is super important. This isn't about someone who is a literal victim of a crime or abuse. This is about a mindset, a role where a person feels and acts completely helpless. They truly believe the world is just happening to them and that they're powerless to change it.
The victim's entire vibe can pretty much be summed up in two little words: poor me. It's this deep belief that they are helpless, that they have no control, that life is just something they have to endure.
So you're probably thinking, why would anyone choose to stay in this role? Well, weirdly enough, it has its perks. The victim gets to avoid the scary work of taking risks or making real changes. Plus, they get a constant stream of attention from a rescuer. They can stay stuck in their negative feelings without ever having to do the hard work to get out.
So you have these three roles: persecutor, rescuer, victim. And people switch between them constantly, sometimes in the same 5-minute argument. It's this spinning cycle of drama that feels absolutely impossible to stop. It's a trap. But, and this is the really good news, there is a way out. So, let's talk about the solution. Back in 1990, a researcher named A.Z. Choi developed this powerful positive alternative. It's called the winner's triangle, and it gives us a direct path out of all that drama and into a place of real empowerment. And this right here, this is everything. This is the big shift. Instead of a victim, you become vulnerable. Instead of a rescuer, you become caring. And instead of a persecutor, you become assertive. For every destructive, reactive role, there's a conscious, empowered alternative.
So what do these empowered roles actually look like in real life? How do we go from just reacting inside the drama to actually choosing to act from a place of strength?
Okay, so instead of playing the victim, the vulnerable person just states what they need, authentically. That's an act of courage, not weakness. And instead of being a rescuer, the caring person offers support, but they respect that the other person can solve their own problems. And finally, instead of a persecutor, the assertive person sets clear boundaries and communicates directly, without any of the blame or the attacks.
This all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you break a pattern that you might have been living in for years? Well, it really just comes down to a few practical, conscious steps.
Here it is, your 3-step exit plan. First, just recognize it. That's it. Just build the awareness to think, hang on a second, I think we're in the triangle. Second, identify your go-to role. Are you always the rescuer? Is your default the victim? Just know what it is. And third, and this is the most powerful part, choose. Make a conscious decision to shift into that empowered role. Ask for what you need. Offer support without taking over. State your boundaries without blame.
At the end of the day, it takes at least 2 people to keep this drama going. You can't control what roles other people decide to play, but you can always control your own. The drama literally cannot continue if you refuse to play your part. So, the question really is, who do you choose to be?